Hot potato, 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 the hot potato. Stop. That was what's playing in the NFL stadiums this weekend because the ball was being passed around like a hot potato with all these playoff turnovers. Stop. And let's talk about the divisional round of the NFL playoffs on the Putty. Yo, welcome to the Puddy Pie with Mickey and RoRo, Divisional Playoff Edition. I am RoRo.
I'm Mickey.
And before we weigh in on the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, please like, comment, follow, and subscribe to the Puddy Pie YouTube channel. We need your support and we like your comments. We've been getting plenty of them lately. For those who don't know what the Puddy Pie is, we are a show originally designed to honor my late friend Paul Matthews, in which we provide observations, not personal attacks, but observations on underperformers. And in the NFL context, those players playing soft and below their standard. Well, what's up, Mickey? Hold on before I throw it over to you. You got your stickum and your vision's clear?
Very much so. I had to check, though. I had to look really, really hard to see if CJ had mittens on. And that's not. Heck, that wicked defense was even off in that weather. So me thinking maybe next year these teams should, start doing some, training camps in the new state of Greenland, to get used to the cold weather.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of fumbling and turnovers going on. I know you saw the same thing, obviously talking about Greenland, but as we moved into the divisional rounds and, the playoffs were definitely up because in those 4 games this weekend, there were 20 turnovers. That's 5 turnovers per game. And that's up from about 2.5 during the regular season. I don't know. I guess they might have been nervous, but this week was just a surprise and eventually ended up in another coaching change. So let's just take a couple look at these games. So they were interesting, but kind of weird. So let's look at the Broncos versus the Bills. Yeah, interesting game. I didn't think Josh Allen was playing all that great. He kind of, he was all over the board, especially with the turnovers. And that kind of led to the firing of Sean McDermott as a 9-year coach. And I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the interesting calls that were made in that game. And then there was the Seahawks that they beat the brakes off the 49ers. It was an annihilation. The 49ers were shorthanded, but they walked in there. They didn't have a chance from the beginning. So that was something on that Saturday night. And then on Sunday was the Patriots, and they beat the Texans in what was a surprising game to me. And it really came down to which team could hold on to the ball. Literally, which team could hold on to the ball? I know you were really high on the Texans D, and any thoughts on that? What happened?
They were cold. They couldn't see.
Yeah, that could be an explanation. But that game was weird. It was surprising to me. But then the final game of the divisional weekend was the Rams, and the Rams beat the Bears in overtime. Interesting game. I wouldn't say it was not all that clean of a game or well played, but it was very competitive and in a tough winter conditions, and I like that. And I know I've been hard on the Bears. They have historically been the rivals of my Packers. And I have to say, honestly, they had a good season. They did. But
He's still a hater.
as Ben Johnson stated, the Bears. F the Bears. Don't be mad, bro. F the Bears. But hey, that was a divisional round. It was interesting. It was kind of, some were predictable, but some was all over the place. So as the divisional rounds kind of enter our rearview mirror and the championship weekend is ahead of, it's time for, you know what we do, some Puddy Pies. Puddy Pies, you're making me crazy. I'm a fan, but you're lazy. So won't you please stop eating those Puddy Pies? This week, I'm sending that message over to Coleridge C.J. Stroud. Yep, Coleridge C.J. Stroud. What a turnover bonanza between the Patriots and the Texans. And C.J. Stroud had a starring role. I mean, CJ led the way with 4 interceptions. He had 11 yards rushing, got sacked 3 times, only had 1 touchdown and a QBR of 21. This is after the 5 fumbles he had, and two of them lost, and an interception against the Steelers in the previous week. So if I could put my calculator together, that's for the playoffs, he had 2 TDs and 7 turnovers. I know it, I know they said, go for 2 in his Applebee's commercial. Man, they didn't mean throw just 2 damn TDs for the playoffs. Uh, Hey, further, like his playoff career numbers are devilish. 6-6, 6 games, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He has not performed in the playoffs. I mean, he had a decent regular season this year, helping his team win like 6 of the 9 games that they won consecutively at the end of the season. And he's a talented QB, but it seems when the playoff time arrives, he's in a maze. And he's back to Stroud again. Stop eating those putty pies. Those who watched the Patriot game, and I'm sure you did too, Mickey. I know, and he was missing his top wide receiver and his top tight end, but he was all over the place. I mean, passes were way off. He was misreading the defense like Mr. Garvey, that the substitute teacher on Key and Peele. He's like, Balake? Any Balake here? Trying to call out Blake. You mean Blake, sir? Cade? You mean Cade? He was misreading everything. And then, or he was playing like a broken-hearted fella because he was leaving the pass behind. I mean, behind his receivers. One pass was so off. It led to a knee injury for his tight end, Cade Stover. I mean, let's be honest, the game wasn't all that great, and it wasn't like Drake May was protecting the ball either. But at least his passes were in the vicinity of his receivers. I mean, I, I don't understand. After 9 straight regular season wins and top notch defense, you come up with these blank face performances, like no expression, just blank face. I think he's a decent quarterback, and he's still chasing his rookie year performance, but quietly. Texans fans have to be looking at him like Tommy did on Martin. Cole, you stupid. I mean, I heard he's a nice and smart young man, but in the playoffs, oh, you stupid. I believe in his talent and skill, but he may need to go back to visit that Snoop football league and get his float back together, because I'm sure Snoop would tell him there will be ups and downs, smiles and frowns. Share with thee putty pies you shouldn't eat. Stop eating those putty pies. Protect the ball. Be better. That's what I got, CJ. Stop eating the putty pies. What do you think, Nick?
It's just a lot to unpack sometimes with everything that you have. A lot of it I agree on. Sometimes people think I'm the harsh one. You're harsh. You can be a little harsh. Poor CJ. You knew something was wrong with his hand, and actually, I think he needs his eyes checked because he didn't know where those receivers were. So I'll
He
agree
did
with you
not.
on that. But for me, I had previously mentioned on a show about the Puddy Pie eating officials one week. So now I'm officially giving the Puddy Pie to the NFL playoff officiating.
Okay.
And I got one question, Ro. Aren't the best official squads? I mean, isn't it like an elite group that would get picked, right? Don't they pick the best of the best from the season?
Yes. Yes.
Well, they didn't this year. I don't think they've had a great officiating crew since Mike Carey retired. I'm just saying. But to start, we can talk about the field, the side, the back judges, right? These three positions determine the outcome of most games, especially in the playoffs, especially then. For
Agreed.
example, huge impact in the Bronco Bill game. You had the catch versus the interception call between Cooks and McMillan. You had 2 pass interference calls that led to the Broncos game-winning field goal. Speaking of pass interference calls, I think the Putty Pie should be given to the owners and the rules committee. Pass interference call is too punitive, inconsistent. That spot penalty for the defensive pass interference is unfair. In my opinion, it's led to too much acting by the wide receivers. Some of them should be nominated to the Screen Actor Guild. I think they should get an award for their performance, throwing their hands in the air like they have the hip hop hooray video. These calls seem to reward, at the end of the day, the quarterback for underthrown passes, and the receivers do a good job Like, I could have caught it. No, you couldn't. Then it becomes a determination of how much patty cake goes on out there on the field. How much? Well, you can actually see the Puddy Pie crimes on their jerseys in this game that we watched this weekend. And Roro, you and I have been watching football a long time. Back in 2018, and you probably remember this, the NFL all got together, all the owners and everybody, and discussed about changing to the college pass interference rule of 15 yards. But the league decided against it because spot penalties are a greater deterrence for for excessive cheating. It allows for the big plays, just a pure entertainment. But as a side note, college football, many people find very entertaining with those rules, and they don't complain about the officiating that much. So why is an offensive pass interference 15 yards, but a defensive pass interference is not? Players running forward get more reward than players running backwards. Ponder that. I know. It's like the movie Dodgeball. The wide receivers get to practice the 5 Ds: dodge, duck, dip, dive, dodge. And the defender backs are just getting hit in the head with all the wrenches. It makes no sense. And it was blatantly obvious in these playoff games. I don't buy the excessive cheating argument laid out by the owners. If they're worried about deterring cheating, they should also implement targeting in the NFL. That would lead to disqualification and sitting out at least half of the next game, like in college, because we've all seen it. And we saw some bad hits and we saw some players, careers ended, talked about the tight end, the knee, all that. You've seen offensive players get concussions from all these illegal hits. Defensive player get a 15-yard penalty, stays in the game. The offensive player that took that targeted hit, he's walking to the locker room. Worse yet, maybe going to the ambulance to get a CAT scan and finding out, hey, your season's over. You're not going to be able to play next year. You just never know. NFL owners need to stop eating those putty pies, create some fair rules that can be fairly implemented by officials that can see and know the game, not AI, not AI. I watch these games and I was like, dang, this is like the Squid Games with all these arbitrary enforced rules. I was just happy that these officials didn't have guns because it was like, wow, they were killing drives and taking opportunity away. Currently, the way that we've watched the officiating this season, and especially in the playoff games, has just opened up the teams, the players, and mostly the fans to argue that these NFL games are rigged. They've decided who they go. I don't know if it's the owners and their bets in Vegas, but there are a lot of people who are like, that's not fair. That's not right. How did that get called? Especially when you're home and they're showing us the replay like 5 or 6 times and we could see they have the wrong call. And I'm sure all the fans agree on the winning teams, the losing teams, the teams that didn't make it, that all those officials need to stop eating those putty pies. That's what I got. I know. I was like you. I gave you a lot.
That's good. I mean, you know, okay, okay. I mean, Squid Game, that's funny. I'm glad they do not have guns,
Ditto.
but it does feel that way. It does feel a little arbitrary at times. But I love
Felt
your
like ice
suggestion.
was on the field. It felt like ice was
Okay.
on the field on some of those. It was like, like, why are the officials in this game at this point?
Right. I love your suggestions. I mean, it's a good summary. I know that the Bears and the Bills and the Broncos fans probably will have a lot to say about that. Hopefully, they will comment in the comment section. It's a weird call, these pass interference things.
Why would the Bears think you're the hater of the Bears? I don't have a problem.
No, I'm saying they'll be asking whether Devontae Adams had a catch, just kind of similar in the same fashion that the Bills thought they had a catch. They both were ruled differently. So, but hey, that's the division round, and we look forward to championship weekend. But before we do that, I want to say, get best of wishes and get better to Bo Nix. He had a great season for the Broncos, and unfortunately, he won't be able to play in the AFC Championship. I also want to say congratulations to some of the new coaches. We got Jeff Halfley, former Packer D coordinator, going over to the Dolphins. Your guy Robert Sala going to the Titans.
You got another job?
Yes, he did. That's Starling. Here's another guy who got a job too. Kevin Stefanski, the Royal Kevin Stefanski, going to the Falcons.
Coach
Then
Majestic.
Mr. Majestic, that's right. And then John Harbaugh going to the Giants. So those are 4 new coaches, and then I'm still pondering this one. They got an extension from Matt LaFleur as the Green Bay Packers coach.
Well, that should make all the Bear fans very happy. Nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change.
We gotta hire a mister. I think we gotta hire a mister for the flower, as you say. But yeah, that's happened this week, and now we got the championship weekend coming up, and the games are the Rams at the Seahawks and the Patriots at the Broncos, who will be starting Jared Stidham. Any quick thoughts? Any predictions there on your side, Mickey?
I don't wanna jinx anybody. I really thought that Houston D was gonna do it. So I'm not gonna jinx anybody. I wish them all well. I know who I think is gonna win, and, the only other person will know who knows who I think is gonna win is my bookie.
All right, make sure you put some good bets out there then. Then I would say for me, I think we're going to get a repeat of Super Bowl 49, and that will be the Seahawks and the Patriots. But I could be wrong. But that's why we play
Okay.
the game. So we'll see you after championship weekend. Thanks for tuning in to the Puddy Pie. Write those owners about those penalties and CJ get better. We'll see you next week. RoRo.
Mickey.
We're out. Peace.